Hello! You are really lucky. Why? Because you're about to learn how to play chess. Chess is a really old game, almost 2,000 years old. Chess is a game where two players play against each other on a chessboard made up of 64 squares, an 8x8 grid. Each player gets a bunch of different pieces that they use to try and go after the other player's king. What is it called when you get the other side's king? Checkmate! You're right. Today I'm going to teach you about the different pieces, how they move, and how to checkmate. Each of the 6 different kinds of pieces has its own shape for moving. Most pieces cannot move through other pieces. Only the knight can jump over anyone who gets in his way. Also, no piece can ever share a square with another piece. This square isn't big enough for the two of us. Sorry. However, they can be moved to take the place of an opponent's piece. That's how you capture the enemies. Now, let's go meet our team. The king is the most important piece, since losing him means the end of the game. But he is also one of the weakest. So very often, he needs his friends to protect him. The king can move one square in any direction, up, down, to the sides, and diagonally. See, this would be one move. Now, after my opponent's move, I can go again. For example, here. How many moves will it take me to get to the edge of the board? 3. That's right. The king may never move himself onto a square where he could be captured. There's no losing on purpose. If your opponent ever moves their king onto a square where you can take it, don't grab the king and laugh, I win! Instead, you should explain why they can't move there. Then your opponent can put the king back where it was and choose a different move. Let's test you. Can the white king move here? No. Good. How about here? Yes, very good. And here? Nope. I think you've got it, so let's keep going. When another piece threatens to capture the king, it's called check. When there is no way for the king to escape check, it is called checkmate. As stated before, that is how you win. There are only 3 ways a king can get out of check: move out of the way, block the check with another piece, or capture the piece that's checking you. At the end of this video, when you know the other pieces, we'll show some examples of this. If a king cannot escape checkmate, then the game is over. Customarily, the king is not captured or removed from the board. The game is simply over. The queen is the most powerful piece. Like the king, she can move in any one straight direction: forward, backward, sideways, or diagonally. But unlike the king, the queen is very speedy. In fact, she can move as far as you like, as long as she does not move through any other pieces. Hold on. And, like with all other pieces, if the queen captures an opponent's piece, that's the square she stops on. All right, 30 seconds, super intense practice. Can the queen move here? No way! She doesn't have a teleporter to go anywhere. She has to follow a straight line. Okay, how about here? Yes, good. Can she capture this piece? You bet. How about this one? Yeah, him too. And this one? Wow, the queen is pretty strong, right? All right, let's test how fast she is. Can she get to the top of the board in one move? Yes. And what square would she land on? That one. How many moves would it take her to go to the left side? 2. Test complete. She's very fast. The rook is also sometimes called a castle. Some of my friends like to call it a tower of power. That's because usually rooks look like towers or castles, and they're pretty strong too. The rook moves much like the queen as far as it wants, along straight lines, but only forward, backward, and to the side. Easy peasy. Let's get right to practice. Since practice makes good, that rook right there, can he move here? Can he move there? Can he catch this piece? How long to get to that side of the board? Very good. Next is the bishop. Bishop is the other half of the queen. It moves as far as it wants, but only diagonally. When I was a kid, my brother and I used to stack a bishop on top of a rook to be an extra queen. In the starting position, the bishop sits next to the king and queen, like advisors. You start with one bishop on a light square and one bishop on a dark square, and you will notice, only moving on diagonals, each bishop is stuck on the color square that it starts on. Let's move this bishop around and try to get him onto a dark square. Wow, that was totally impossible. Luckily, his buddy is here to cover the squares he can't. Bishops work well together because each covers the squares the other one can't. What time is it now? That's right, test time. That bishop right there. Can he move here? Correct. Can he move there? Excellent. What about this other bishop over here? Can he go there? Nope. But he can go here, can't he? Right? Excellent. The knight is our next study. The chess piece for a knight, it looks like a horse. Now really, the horse is supposed to have a rider who's brave or not so brave. But it's harder to design that way. Sometimes people will tell you it's called a knight, not a horse. But it's okay with me if you want to call the knight a horsey. Knights move in a very different way from other pieces, going 2 squares in one direction, and then one more move at a 90-degree angle, just like the shape of an L. Try to imagine every square this knight could move to. Now, we'll start showing them. Knights are also the only pieces that can move over other pieces. Pawn in the way? Enemy rook in the way? No problem. People often say knights hop because of that special ability to hop over other pieces. Check out these knight hops. Yippee! Here I go. Now I'm going to capture someone. Whee! Okay, now wait. You notice something very special about those hops? The knights change square colors with every move. Remember that. There'll be a test later. Now, the pawn. Let's meet the pawn. This is a pawn. This is also a pawn. And this is a pawn, but this is a pawn. Not a pawn. Pawn is spelled P-A-W-N. The pawn is the smallest piece on the board and the slowest, but it has a lot of potential. Half of your starting team is pawns, so it's very important to understand how to use these little guys. Even though they're not very strong, pawns are unusual because they move in one way but capture in a different way. When they move, they just go forward, but when they capture, they go diagonally. Pawns can only move forward 1 square at a time, except for their very first move, when they can move forward 2 squares or 1. Pawns can only capture 1 square diagonally in front of them. They can never move or capture backwards. Because pawns move and capture differently, the pawn is the only piece that can get blocked by your pieces or enemy pieces. If there's another piece directly in front of a pawn that he can't move past, or he can't capture that piece either. Of course, your pawns would never capture your pieces, but that's another story. Okay? Now, pawns may be small. Pawns may be weak. They move slowly, have trouble fighting against the faster guys on the board, but pawns still have big dreams. They want to be the hero who rules the chessboard and brings you victory. And pawns have one more special ability that can help make their dreams come true. If a pawn reaches the other side of the board, it can become any other chess piece, except a pawn or a king. This is called promotion. A pawn is usually promoted to a queen because she is the most powerful piece. Only pawns may be promoted. There is no other piece that can do this. Now that you've met the whole team, let's go over check and checkmate again real quick. We will do a lot more about it in later lessons. This is today's final exam. Okay, Let's look at this white king. Is he in check? Yes, that's right. And who is checking him? It's the black pawn. No, not the pond, the pawn. Okay, so what are the 3 ways for white to save their king and the game? That's right. He could run away. Someone could get in between them, or you could capture the pawn. So where could the king run? Here, here, and here. But not there. If the king went there, someone else on that pawn's team would get him. You see it? That's right. The mighty rook. Okay, how about getting in between the king and the pawn? Can anyone do that? Don't be silly. They're standing next to each other. There's no in between. What about capturing the pawn? Do you have any pieces that can do it? How many? Let's see. There's the king, the knight, and the queen. That's 3. Okay, good. One last puzzle. Which king is in check? If you said black, you're wrong. Okay, just joking around. The answer is the white king. Which black piece is attacking him? Is it this pawn? No. This pawn? No. This knight? No. Well, of course, those pieces are all on the wrong side of the board. What about this bishop? That's right. He can go all the way across the board. Okay, so how can white escape check? Which squares can his king move to? There's only one safe square, one step to the right. But what about capturing? Could we capture that bishop? Nope, he's safe way back there at home. Can any of our pieces block? Oh yes, this pawn can. And this pawn can. Wow, those pawns are trusty. Oh yeah, and the queen can. It's nice of her to look after the king, but since she is very valuable herself, we'd probably block with one of our pawns. And finally, let's see a checkmate. Look at this poor king. The opponent's army's breathing down his neck. He's totally surrounded. Do you see he can't get away? If he goes here, the bishop gets him. If he goes here, the rook gets him. If he goes here, the knight gets him. He can't capture the pawn that's threatening him either, because it is defended by its buddy here. His friends can't get in the way or capture that pawn either. What are they doing on the other side of the board? Oh, well, that's how a chess game ends. Now, you are ready to start a game. Go here and have fun.